CEO married the janitor, unaware he was a former elite special forces commander. Everyone thought the CEO had made the biggest mistake of her life. She married the janitor, quiet, invisible, always smelling faintly of soap and steel, but on the night masked men stormed the top floor, alarms screaming and power cut, she would watch that same janitor move like a shadow, and realize she had married him and the world once feared. Stay till the end, because the truth he reveals changes everything. Amara Khan ran the most ruthless tech empire in the city. At 34, she was known for sharp decisions, sleepless nights, and a heart locked behind glass. Love, she believed, was a liability. That belief shattered the night she found a stranger sitting on the office floor at 2:17 a.m., quietly fixing a broken mop handle. "I'm sorry," he said without looking up. "I'll be out of your way in a second." His name was Ethan Cole. Janitor. Night shift. He spoke softly, moved carefully, and never complained. While the rest of the building trembled around Amara's authority, Ethan treated her like a human being, not a CEO, not a legend. Over weeks, then months, their paths crossed in silence-filled hallways and elevator rides after midnight. When Amara's board betrayed her, when investors threatened to pull out, when the weight became unbearable, Ethan listened. He never gave advice. He just listened, and somehow, that saved her. People laughed when she married him. Headlines mocked her. Board members whispered, "A CEO married a janitor." They didn't see what she saw. She didn't know about the scars under his sleeves. Didn't question why his eyes always scanned exits. Didn't wonder how he could disarm a drunk attacker with a single movement. One rainy night, Ethan had buried his past, because his past was soaked in blood, duty, and impossible choices. He was once Commander Ethan Cole, leader of an elite special forces unit erased from official records. When a mission went wrong, when his men died because of a decision made by people in suits, Ethan disappeared. He chose silence. He chose anonymity. He chose a mop over a medal, and then he chose Amara. For the first time, he wanted peace, but peace never lasts for men like him. It happened on their first wedding anniversary. Amara was working late in the executive penthouse when the lights died. Emergency red flooded the hallways, then the gunshots came. Masked men stormed the building, professionals. Not thieves. Not amateurs. They were there for something hidden in Amara's private server, something tied to classified defense tech. Amara locked herself in her office, hands shaking, and then the door opened. Ethan stood there, no mop, no uniform, just calm. "Come with me," he said. She had never heard that voice before. They moved through smoke-filled corridors. When the first attacker appeared, Ethan stepped forward, and in 3 seconds, the man was unconscious on the floor. Amara froze. "What did you just—" "Stay behind me," Ethan said. One by one, the attackers fell. Silent. Precise. Terrifyingly controlled. By the time security arrived, it was over. Amara stared at her husband, her world collapsing and rebuilding at once. "Who are you?" she whispered. Ethan finally sat down, exhausted, exposed. "I was someone else," he said. "Someone I don't want to be again." He told her everything, the missions, the betrayals, the night he lost his team, the reason he chose to disappear. "I married you because with you," he said quietly, "I could finally breathe." Amara broke down, not because he lied, but because he carried the pain alone. For her, the next morning, the board demanded answers. So did the government. Amara stood before them and said one sentence that silenced the room: "You don't get to use the man you abandoned. He's my husband now." She resigned that same day. They left the city together. No headlines. No power, just truth. Months later, in a quiet town by the sea, Ethan opened a small repair shop. Amara started teaching young entrepreneurs. They laughed more, slept better, lived fully, and sometimes, late at night, Amara would watch Ethan lock the doors, still scanning exits, still protecting. She would hold his hand and whisper, "You don't have to fight anymore." And he would smile, the kind of smile only a man reborn can give. Peace has a way of feeling permanent. Right before it breaks, the seaside town had learned Ethan as the quiet repairman. The man who fixed radios, sharpened knives, and closed his shop before sunset. To the locals, he was kind, distant, ordinary. To Amara, he was home. But on a gray morning thick with fog, a black SUV rolled into town and parked across from Ethan's shop. Amara felt it before she saw it. "Ethan," she whispered from the doorway. "Someone's here." He looked up once, just once, and his jaw tightened. "I hope they wouldn't find me," he said softly. 3 men stepped out of the SUV. Clean shoes. Military posture. Eyes that missed nothing. One of them removed his sunglasses, revealing a scar that ran from eyebrow to cheek. "Commander," the man said, not as a greeting, but as a reminder. Amara's heart slammed against her ribs. Ethan stepped outside and closed the door behind him. as if shielding her from the past. "I'm not your commander anymore," he said. "I'm done." The scarred man exhaled slowly. "There's a hostage situation overseas. 40 civilians. Our team's failed. You're the only one who's ever succeeded against this group." Silence. Amara opened the door. "No," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "You took everything from him once. You don't get to do it again." The men exchanged looks. "This isn't a request," the scarred man said. That night, Ethan sat on the edge of their bed, staring at his hands, the same hands that once carried men out of fire. "I promised you a life without blood," he said. Amara knelt in front of him, tears in her eyes. "And I promised I wouldn't cage the man I love," she replied. "If you go, you come back. That's the promise." Ethan pulled her into his chest and held her like he might never let go. 2 days later, he was gone. The mission was chaos, explosions. Narrow corridors. Screams echoing through concrete walls. Ethan moved like memory, every step familiar, every breath controlled. He led the team through traps that should have killed them. When the enemy closed in, he stood his ground, covering the evacuation until the last civilian was safe. A blast threw him against a wall. Blood blurred his vision, but he smiled. "Not today," he muttered. Amara waited. Every hour stretched like a lifetime. Then the call came. "He's alive," the voice said. And he saved them all. When Ethan returned weeks later, scarred, thinner, but breathing, Amara ran to him in the airport and didn't care who watched her cry. The government offered medals, titles, power. Ethan refused, but this time, he didn't disappear. He stood beside Amara as the world learned one truth: heroes don't belong to governments, they belong to the people they love. And as the sun set over the sea that evening, Ethan finally slept without scanning the exits, because the war was over. At last.